So Mufasa, the Lion King, is the prequel to the CGI Lion King that we got back in 2019. And the weird thing about this type of film is, I think on paper it's a good idea. I like the idea of trying to give more of a story to Mufasa, which hasn't been explored much, even in like the other like Lion King sequels that we got direct to video. So this film actually feels like it's trying to do something new with the old Disney properties instead of just retreading the same old stuff. And it has a lot of good stuff on paper that I like. I like the idea of this type of origin story. I like the director involved, Barry Jenkins, who, whose credits have been amazing films like Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk. Just amazing work there. But it's also written by Jeff Nathanson, who did write the last Lion King film. And I think a big problem with this story, I think, isn't so much that I think, that I don't know if I don't think it's so much that, that I'm not really that interested in Mufasa as a character, because I think any idea can be done right. I think the problem is that I think the film might be just a little bit too fast and too serious with this type of material to ever let it properly gel, because these are good ideas, but they never materialize into a much better film. So at the heart of the story, you have a young Mufasa who's voiced by Aaron Pierre in his adult form, and he basically more or less has the same story as Simba, except his journey is a little bit more interesting because he's separated from both his parents, from his entire tribe, and then gets inducted into a new tribe of lions and tries to prove his worth from the bottom up. And of course, he's immediately rejected by these lions until the youngest cub, called Taka, voiced by Kevin Harrison Jr., convinces his dad, come on, Dad, let him stay. I've always wanted a brother, and and you really do like Taka. Now, of course, Taka is going to end up being Scar, who would eventually kill Mufasa. But the film does a good job trying to establish him as a character that you see fall from grace. So there is they do build up to a tragedy here, which I think is a little bit more nuanced than just, presenting him as a character that you like so much and then you just have to end up hating him as the villain. They kind of give him a bit more pathos, so he's a bit more interesting, especially when you see how Taka grows more jealous of Mufasa, and Mufasa also realizes this and tries to stand up for Taka and try to not step on his toes and try to help him out. At one point, they end up forming a relationship with another lion called Sarabi, voiced by Tiffany Boone. And it's clear that Taka's in love with Sarabi and would really like to, get in a relationship with her. And Mufasa tries to help him out. He says hey, look, I noticed this about her. I grew up with this, sensation of smells and being one with nature. Tell her this and she'll fall in love with you. And that scene that they have together where Taka relays what Mufasa tells him was kind of interesting. I loved how it had a little bit of a Cyrano de Bergerac type of thing going on. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of scenes like that in the film, and I think it's because there's just a bit too much going on. The entire film is framed from Simba's young cub being relayed this story from Rafiki, and that's a good device, I think. But then they have the commentary of Timon and Pumbaa, who are once more voiced by Seth Rogen playing Pumbaa and Billy Eichner playing Timon. And again, this is another thing on paper I think is fine, but I don't think there's enough time to let it gel. Is that Timon and Pumbaa kind of have running commentary. They break the fourth wall a bit. They make a few witty jabs here and there, and they're not bad. I think they're almost kind of throwaway jokes for the adults who are drugged to this thing, and they're not bad, but a little of them goes a long way, and they keep interrupting this film. And I think I think it's they kind of frame it as a good break from the story that might get too serious, but it always felt it was taking up too much of the screen time, because this film runs about 2 hours, and if I'm being honest, I think it should have gone a little bit longer, if only to just be engaged with the characters more. Because the majority of the dialogue that we have between Mufasa and Taka, and pretty much all the characters, is arrives so abruptly. Like, all the characters kind of like rattle off, these speeches and monologues about being one with nature, or trying to prove themselves, or questioning the hierarchy of the animal kingdom, which is all not bad, but there's no breathing room to give these characters any more dimension than that. It almost feels like, at least to me, the film felt like it was trying to be like a Shakespearean drama, but has all the tact of a stage production that is just rattling off the lines as quickly as they can, just to show you that, just to like fit in all the drama as quickly as they can into this type of production. And I think that really hinders the film, because I was actually kind of digging where the story was going, but the way that it just transitions to like the next musical number and the next action sequence, I didn't feel like there was enough build up there for either the political questioning of this animal hierarchy, or the love triangle between Mufasa, Taka, and Sarabi, mostly because Sarabi isn't really introduced until roughly about halfway into the film. And the same goes for Rafiki joining this adventure, as well as Zabu. And they all just kind of arrive abruptly. And it just really was, like, I get what they were going for here. Like, they're trying to make it an adventure of all these, like, misfits who feel like they've been displaced from their tribes for one reason or another, are coming together to try to find the promised land where they think like they can settle down and make themselves their own home and their own tribe. And I like that idea, but again, not a lot of time given for them. There's not even a lot of time given for the villain here of a tribe of white lions called the leader is called Kuros, and he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, and the character is mostly just bound by revenge. Like, one of his son is killed by Mufasa, and he just wants revenge on Mufasa, and he'll do whatever he can to get it. And there isn't really much more to him than that, and I think you really do start to see the cracks in how some of the musical numbers form here, because the music, it's good, but it's not great. It's by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and it's definitely not as good as like the original Lion King with those classic songs here. But they're okay. But then when we get to Kuros' song, he sings, it's no Be Prepared. Like, his song is Bye Bye, in which he's just, he's not really talking about ambition. He's just talking about wanting to kill all these lions and how fierce he is. Which, again, like a lot of the soundtrack, not a bad song, but not really a great villain song where I think the film can just kind of like coast on that. Because then it keeps transitioning to like either the next chase sequence between the lions, or another musical number, or like a little bit of like a monologue about nature and purpose. And it always felt like the film was trying to do so much, and it never really has, like I said, breathing room, and it never really got me engaged with the characters. It just felt like it was breezing by as quick as it can. Like, I have to imagine there was stuff on the cutting room floor, because it proceeds so quickly to the point where I would almost wish that they just took out the entire like Timon and Pumbaa running commentary on this film, because like it's fine, but like it really dices up the drama and takes away from it. It's like, why are we wasting time with that? I want to get back to seeing the dynamic between Mufasa and Taka and Sarabi. Like, that's where the real meat of the film is, and the few scenes they have together, I actually liked. I love the way that they played off of each other, but we don't get much of that in the film, and it just kind of arrives inexplicably where, we've got to get up to that point where, of course, Mufasa will defeat Kuros, and and Taka will get that scar that will turn him into Scar, obviously, and it just arrives so abruptly, where even though there's definitely a lot of meaningful messages here, and there is a lot trying to be communicated here through Barry Jenkins' direction, I don't feel that it quite hit the way the way that I'm sure was intended. Like, it's a very ambitious effort, and I appreciate that Jenkins is at least trying to do something new with this material, but I think we really needed just a little bit more time with these characters to really appreciate the dynamic that they had, and to better embrace like the grander themes that are trying to be addressed here. So it's a good effort, but it's not as good as it could be for this Lion King prequel film.